Hello everybody, this is Hunter Hero, and this is my spice list. This is prior to real testing, but I've been fiddling around with this list for a little bit, and I thought I'd bring to you guys Scareclaw Crusadias. This list is super spicy, but I found out that these decks have just a lot in common. Shout out to Team Cog to, ripping this deck a new one. But I thought these two decks could mesh really well, and I threw together this preliminary list. I'm about to go test it this weekend. Probably by the time this video goes up, it'll be probably tomorrow after this video goes up. But yeah, so I thought I'd throw this together, throw it up on the channel, and have you guys tell me what you guys think. But enough about jabbering about what this, dream team is. Let's get to the list. So, for Scareclaw names, we are going to be playing 3 copies of all of them, but we'll talk about each one individually, because these cards are brandy new, just came out of the last set. So, 3 copies of Scareclaw, Reichart. So, this is your best card. This is your gas. This is everything. So, his stats don't really matter too much in this deck, so we're not going to be covering that. Being dark sucks, but his effect is what carries him all the way to the top. So, what his effect is that when he's normal or special summoned, he can search for any Scareclaw back row, plus he draws you a card. Now, you need to have 3 monsters defense position to count to get the draw card, but I believe it is, yeah, literally any defense position monsters, which includes himself. Now, all Scareclaws have the effect that they can summon to columns next to and under, so they're kind of like Mech Knights. But they can do it next to each other. All of them share this effect, so like, if you had like their Link monster up here, you can summon this guy here, and then these 2 zones are now open, if that makes any sense. But yeah, so it makes for a very interesting gimmick. But yeah, he's your main bread and butter. I might actually cover a little bit of some combo stuff with this deck, just a couple, but yeah. Now we're going to cover probably the worst Scareclaw, and that is 3 copies of Belone. This thing sucks. You need him at 3, though, because essentially this deck just needs names. And that's kind of the thing, is that this thing gives your Link monster piercing battle damage. So all the dogs give the Link 3 effects. So kind of like all your Crusadia stuff. So this one just does the piercing battle damage. So this is your most expendable name. This is like the one that if you draw 2 of, you kind of just use this to go combo. He's bad. I don't like him very much, but you need to play him. Here is, I think, the favorite one in terms of looks. I don't think he's your game ender. So this is Astra, and what he does is while he's on the field, your Link monster gets to attack a number of times up to the amount of defense position Scareclaws with different names on the field. That's upwards of 4 attacks on a 3K body. So this guy just enables the OTKs. So. And Belone stops sucking as much in the context of in the deck, but essentially you need as many names to get this thing to help your dude swing. I also do need to mention that all of the Scareclaws except for Reichart have 0 attack, and that's important for main combo once we get to the extra deck. So, and then we're playing 3 copies of Acro. This guy makes your this guy's the attack boost. So for oh, is it? Oh, I misread this twice. So, you can also their special summons are hard once per turn. But what this guy does is that he gives 300 attack per defense position monster you control to the Link monster. So this paired with Astra essentially just confirms a kill if your opponent has 2 or less monsters. Again, I will kind of exemplify how combo goes and how your first few turns should go, but like this deck is super interesting, but you kind of need to know what they're doing. This deck's, but Astro is the best. Acro is the best. I don't like his artwork very much, though. And then we're playing 2 Vizia Starfrost. This should be 3. Don't have the third one yet, but this thing just is another free way to get a defense position monster if you can't go combo in certain ways, or if you need that draw off of Reichart. He helps push for games. He's one of the few monsters that you want in attack position. He's also a tuner, so once I have my Baron back, that is something that you can put in the extra deck slot, because him and Reichart is a free Baron as your 3rd summon, as your 4th summon, which is pretty cool. Hand traps aren't as, like, the hand traps this deck is weak to are not as prevalent as they once were, but it's still a problem. So, But Starfrost is pretty cool. Also, he just turns into Bureau Token into just a free body on board, so, eh. And now we're going to move on to the Crusadia package, and we're playing 3 Draco, 2 Arborea, 2 Maximus, 2 Reclusia, and 2 Leonis. I was tempted to cut this to 1 because drawing this guy sucks, but the thing is that you need these for extension, and sometimes these are the only ways to go combo. So, Draco adds back, which is why he's the only one at 3, because he's required to extend your plays if something goes awry. Arborea's protection, you really hope you don't need to resolve that if this was your normal summon, but it does come up. And then you just need these other ones for either niche effects or just to have names. Essentially, the only one that comes up even a little bit more is Reclusia's Pop. Sometimes you will draw hands where you just play Crusadia, and that's fine because you can still OTK just like you're playing Crusadia. But overall, the names are fine. The only one that sucks the most is Leonis, but that's because I keep drawing him off of Reichart. So that's it for the Crusadia package, and then we're moving on to the only 3 hand traps we're playing, and that is 3 copies of Ash. You don't really have space for hand traps. This is like a pure, I gotta just try to outgas it, but the Ash doesn't really hurt anything. She's big in defense. It doesn't really matter. Now we're moving on to the spells, and unfortunately, we gotta start off with the cool one. Primitive Planet Reichphobia. So, this card's your field spell. This thing does everything for you. It searches a Scareclaw or Vizia Starfrost. It reduces your opponent's stats for every defense position monster. And it's a Ignition Pop. The only downside is you can activate these once per turn, which means that if this thing gets ogred, when you go to get your free pop, ooh, I just kicked the hell out of my stand. When you go to get your pop, it's unfortunate, but it just happens sometimes. Ogre happens. Brave isn't as popular as it used to be though, so that shouldn't be as much of a problem. Also, just a fun side note, this is the only card in the deck that searches Starfrost, so if you do desperately need a Baron, and that's the only line of play you're going to get this turn, this is your boy. And then we're playing 2, this should be 3, of Scareclaw Arrival. So this card's worded kind of poorly. So you can target a Scareclaw monster or a Starfrost in your graveyard, special summon a defense position. If Scareclaw-like monsters you control would be destroyed by battle or card effect, you can banish this card from your graveyard instead. That's the once per turn effect, is to protect your Link monster. This is a non-once per turn monster reborn for your Scareclaws and your Vizia Starfrosts. And if I had the third one, there would be no question you play 3 of this. This card's kind of dumb. Then for one-off spells, we're just playing Rhoda, Monster Reborn, and Foolish Burial. Essentially, this is to facilitate Tri-Heart's effect. If you drew nothing but Crusadias, because that leads to a really weird board state where you can't take advantage of Tri-Heart's full effect. Monster Reborn's dumb, and Rhoda can search Reichart or Arborea, depending on which path you need to go down. We're not playing any Crusadia back row, because you really don't need it. The only one I'd be tempted to play is not even a Crusadia card, but the World Legacy's Guard Dragon was like the only thing I was even tempted to play, and it didn't make the cut because it was just too bricky. Now we're moving on to trap cards, and we're playing 3 copies of Scareclaw Alternative. This is a super preliminary list. This card I was sleeping on when I first tried to put the deck together. So what this card does is you tribute 3 Scareclaws. They don't have to be with different names or anything, so there's no restriction on that. But you tribute 3 Scareclaws for cost. For the rest of this turn, your opponent can only special summon monsters in defense position, which means they can't link summon, and they can't OTK you the turn you do this, which pays for the cost in itself. Then it has a mandatory burn effect that's hard once per turn. During your turn, you banish this card out of your graveyard, and then your opponent takes 100 for every defense position monster on the board. So after a successful part on their turn, you enter draw phase, this thing banishes itself, and then your opponent takes like 400 or 500 damage, you win in time. It's great. I like drawing multiples of this thing sucks, which you could search it off of Reichart, which is why you could probably get away with playing like less than this. I wanted to see it in my opening hands more because of the Crusadias, and they kind of facilitate needing to play multiples. So that's it for that. And then we're talking about the card that has probably been the most changed number in my list. Scareclaw Splash. This thing allows your defense position Scareclaws to attack once per turn, one of them, or your Starfrost, if you so choose. But this is also an Omni Negate that when you go to negate it, you send it from field to grave, which means that the Omni Negate can't be ogred. This card's pretty good. I have literally been playing this at every ratio imaginable at this point, so numbers and results may vary. I've been playing it at 2. It's fine. Hard drawing it doesn't suck. Again, Reichheart can search any other back row, so the results may vary. But that's it for the main deck. It is 41 cards. The Leonis that I put back in makes it 41. Let's move to the extra deck. For our Link ones, we are playing 2 Magius and Almirage and Link Spider. This guy's way more important in this deck than you can think. Link Spiders if we get nibbed. Magius is for Crusadia combos, plus rotating any Crusadia we need to continue combo. Almirage is super duper important. We're going to get these other guys off the board so I can talk about Almirage more in depth. So this card is your 1-card combo starter if you draw a very, very weird set of hands of 2 Scareclaws and 1 Crusadia. Because Tryhard is really, really specific on his materials. So all of the dog Scareclaws have 0 attack. So you can always make this on a normal summon. You normal summon them, summon another dude next to him, link this off, and then place a Crusadia here. You have your 3 materials you need to make Tryhard. I wasn't playing this in first playtesting, and I grew to regret that really fast. This card's bonkers. You know, gotta give him respect. This might actually go to 2 with how often he comes up. For Link 2s, we're playing double copies of Sapatha and Update Jammer. Update Jammer, we are playing the Transcode Talker OTK in addition to some other stuff, because this extra deck is not super duper tight. But double Sapatha, because the second one does come up constantly. Anytime you're in a grind game, you want multiples of her because you don't want to add her back off of Draco. Also, if she's popped or something, you just need the extra one there to try to keep pushing on anyway. So, that's the logic behind that. For Link 3s, we are maxing 3 copies of Scareclaw Tryhard, Crusadia Equimax, and then we're playing Transcode Talker, plus Decode Talker Heat Soul. So, we're going to talk about these individually for a second, except for Transcode, because he's used for the OTK, and Equimax, because he's the Crusadia boss monster. So, we'll talk about Tryhards and Heat Soul in a moment. So, we're going to talk about Tryhard first, because he's your bread and butter. So, he requires 3 effect monsters, which is really, really a pain in the ass to make in this deck, kind of. The fact that he must be Link summoned, he can't be Monster Reborn, it's kind of sucks. But what his effects do, he's great. So, for one, he locks all your opponent's monsters on board into being in defense position, which means that while he's on board, just like Baguska, you can't kill me. But he's unaffected by monsters with activated effects while in defense position. This is great. This means that you can't, you have to use back row to out him, because you can't beat him over by battle. And, unless you make Link monsters. And, yeah, him being a Beast Warrior is kind of great, because it means that he's a lot harder to make with certain things. But, and then we have his Monster Reborn effect, which is really good. So you can target a Scareclaw monster in your graveyard, special summon it to your side of the field, then search any Scareclaw monster from your deck. Unfortunately, this makes him weak to Ash and Bell, but the caveat is that once you get him on board, you can target any of your Scareclaws, preferably Astro or Acro, summon him back, and then search the Reichheart if you didn't draw him. This is great, because that means that you can trigger the Reichheart with a draw effect, usually, because if you draw another Crusadia, you summon the Crusadia to the zone he points to, preferably this one, because you're building on the right side of the board, or if you're building on the left, you build him at the far left. Summon the Monster Reborn the dude. Then, after you Monster Reborn it, you search Reich. Reich summons probably to the column in the middle of the board. Then, you search your back row, and then draw a free card. It's great. He's probably the best worst boss monster I've ever read, but we're just maxing him for now. And then I will say that this is a free spot in the extra deck. I just wanted to play a draw card. Niche situations come up where drawing an extra card is great. Really, the most of this extra deck is super flimsy. The only things I would consider keeping is just every Crusadia name and the 3 Tryhard. But everything up to this point is just up to you. This would probably be my Baron slot, but... and then the 2 Link Force we're playing is Appaloosa and Boral's Sword. Appaloosa because we spam a bunch of monsters and can make her, usually with 4 materials without a second thought. And Boral's Sword for just more OTKs. There's really wasn't a whole lot of thought put into this. I kind of just threw it together, and so far the results have been pretty good. So we'll talk about some very light combos. So let me get these separated real quick. We'll talk about some very light combos involving some of your hands that you will be seeing. Unfortunately, this is super hand dumpy, but you've probably played Crusadia before, so you kind of know how that is. So let's talk about usual line here. So 2 Scareclaw names and a Crusadia. So the Crusadia is the names of the Scareclaw monsters, as long as they are not Reichhard, don't matter. And the name of the Crusadia monster does not matter because we only are using the one. So this is a very quick combo. Unfortunately, you die really hard to nib, but I've already mentioned that. So you normal summon Acro. Then you use Balloon's effect to summon to the column next to it. There is... Yeah. Then you link the Acro off into the Almirage. And then using that free zone, you summon the Leonis, and then you link 3 into your Tryhard. This is one of the few ways to get to Tryhard, and then you essentially want to set up your alternative by monster reborning the Acro, searching the Reichhard, and then whatever cards from the rest of your hand are going to try to extend to help get the +1 draw. Drawing full Crusadia hands doesn't really matter because you do the regular Crusadia climb, except you have to do one thing a little differently. So when you go to Crusadia climb in this deck, I gotta go find my other Crusadia names. So when you go to Crusadia climb, any 2 names can do it. As you know, anybody who's played Crusadia before knows that any 2 names can do it. So you normal summon the name you want to keep for later. You link 1, make Magius, then you want to summon the other one, and then you want to search for Draco if you didn't draw it, or Arborea if you did. Then you link 2, making your Sapatha, and then you want to chain block the the Draco with the Sapatha. So chain link 1 Draco, chain link 2 Sapatha, Sapatha moves the Draco, Draco grabs back your normal summon, then you summon this, and then you make your Tryhard. If you draw Foolish Burial, this makes this even better. It's still ironing out the kinks, so this is why, you guys can come and tell me down in the comments any suggestions you'd make for this deck. But that's just overall some of the basic combos you can do. I haven't really had to go second most of the time, because most of the time when I go second, their boards end on too much stuff for me to handle. At least at this point. I'm still learning the deck. So, any suggestions would be great. But yeah, I think that'll do it for this deck profile. I appreciate you guys' time. And again, tell me your thoughts down in the comments below. Have a great day.